Hi guys! This video was requested by my brilliant friend Lauren, once again supplying me with ideas when I am out of any. With most film and TV shows, you either like them or you don't. But every once in a while there's the exception where you really like it, but the ending is somehow a little disappointing, or in some cases extremely. I was with my friend Lauren when we watched a certain movie for the first time, and we loved the film, and then the ending was so heartbreaking, and it felt unnecessarily heartbreaking, like this didn't need to happen. And my friend Lauren went on this big tangent, and she was just growling and running around the house, and it was ridiculous, but it was funny. She was thinking back on this experience, and she's like, Alex, you need to make a disappointing endings episode. And I was like, yeah, that's true, because there's some movies and TV shows that just, they're good, but their endings are just lacking something. Either that or what you wanted to happen the whole time never happened. This was difficult for me to compile this list, which is only 4. Because so many shows and movies, they'll end on a sad note or something, but it felt appropriate. Anyway, we're going to start with the movie that started this whole debate off. One of my now favorite films, Edward Scissorhands. I loved this film for a long variety of reasons, but one of them being that you could totally empathize with Edward and what he was feeling. Especially when you're someone that's trying to do something good, but it feels like everyone's taking what you do and it either turns out the wrong way or they misunderstand your motives. And with Ed, he's the most sweet person on the planet, yet he is so completely misunderstood. Also, I forgot to mention that this will contain spoilers, obviously, for these TV shows and movies that I mentioned. Anyway, to really shorten this up, he ends up being misunderstood by the townfolk, but the girl that loves him follows him to his castle, and they say goodbye. And at the end of the movie, it shows her as an old lady, talking about how she still believes he's up there in the castle, creating the snow. Horrible summary, but I'm just trying to get to a point here. Now, there's some things about this ending that are really sweet, like that she was so caring and supportive of him, but there's another thing that just really nagged me about it. Why in the world would you let someone you love live all alone up in a castle, each day in, day out, possibly immortal, and not spend any time with him? Just move along with your life, like, he's up there, that's sad, but he's safe. I didn't understand why she didn't just go up there and at least keep some communications with him. I mean, essentially, he ends the movie in the exact same position that he was in the beginning of the movie. Alone, in a castle, and scared of the world. And here's my fantasy if I was her in this situation. I would try to hunt down someone that knew how to make prosthetic hands for him, that he could use like a robot. Then I would have these hands switchable with his scissor hands, that way he could keep his scissor hands for doing the crafts he does, but he could also use his hands to live a more normal life. That way, with time, he could probably be introduced to the real world again. Maybe that's a little bit too happy-do-go-lucky. I don't even know what that means. But still, I think we could have thought of something a little less depressing and a little less neglectful than just letting him go back to the tower forever. Because she's like a teenager in the movie, and at the end of it, she's like this old lady that looks like she's about to drop dead any second. I mean, he's been up there a long time. Dexter, do you have something to say about this? I mean, I still love the film to bits. I've watched it over and over and over again since I first saw it. But still, the ending is upsetting, I think. I mean, I see why they did it, but I don't know, something about it bothers me. The second film I almost didn't include on the list because I can see exactly why the things happened the way they did, but from a childhood standpoint, I'm still going to say that the ending disappointed me as a kid, however necessary it might have been. That is one of my most beloved Disney classics, Pocahontas. At the end of the film, of course, I'm sure you know, John Smith gets hurt. He has to go back to England so he can get some proper care, and Pocahontas has to say goodbye and they part ways. John Smith offers for her to come along with him, but she says she needs to stay with her people. Now this I kind of get. I mean, I kind of understand why she needs to be there with her people, because, I mean, obviously more white men are going to be coming into their land. I mean, I'm not Pocahontas, but if I was, I would have been going with John Smith, though, I think, because I would want to know what was out there, and I would want to make sure he was okay. But then they go and they make the second film, which, yes, I've said before, I do not talk about. I will break that rule today. And they put her with The man who historically she ended up with, the actual real Pocahontas, ended up with not John Smith. There was no real romantic relationship between Pocahontas and John Smith. She was like 10 or something. He was an adult male. That would have been weird. But Disney chose to ignore history in the first one. Why start trying to follow history in the second one? It just made me mad, okay? I just thought John Smith was a better click for her in this universe, the Disney universe. I think they could have easily made a sequel where her and John Smith end up together and maybe go to England or whatever they wanted to do, but I just think it was so unnecessary to start suddenly following history and put her with the actual man she actually ended up with. Let us live our fantasies when we are in Disney. You may completely disagree with me on this, but this is just my opinion as a scarred child. Pocahontas is still one of my favorite movies though, so, you know, guess it didn't hurt it that bad. This next one is a TV show that I hold dearly. It is That 70s Show. If you've watched That 70s Show from beginning to end, you will know that Season 8 is a completely different thing than the whole rest of the series. This had to do with people leaving the show, this had to do with a lot of conflict on set, apparently. So, Season 8 was kind of a disaster. I still don't think it excuses them for doing the thing they did at the end. So, Kelso and Jackie, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who are a great couple in real life, but the couple on the show was not so much so. Kelso was constantly cheating on Jackie, Jackie was constantly nagging on Kelso, it was just awful. So at some point in the show, I don't remember what season, don't remember what episode, they put Jackie and Hyde together. Now this, I thought, was absolutely adorable, because Jackie and Hyde made a lot of sense in my head. He could make her think a little bit more deeply, as much as they can do that, and she made him more, like, emotional. I just really liked them as a couple, and I thought they would stay throughout the rest of the show. But in Season 8, they did this really weird thing where they broke them up, and then at the end of the series, they put her with Fez. Now, Fez, he's adorable, he's funny, he's a lot of sweet, wonderful things, but him and Jackie made zero sense. There was a lack of chemistry, it just was awkward, it was like, almost like seeing siblings I felt together. It was just weird. Anyway, Eric comes back for the last episode, the guy, Topher, who plays him, and they do have a good ending for him, his character, I guess, and Donna's character. But I was just mad the whole time because I just couldn't believe they'd done this to Jackie and Hyde. I don't know, still love the series as a whole, but the last season is just... Last but not least is a TV series that I kind of like. It was okay, I thought it was unique, it was interesting, but it's not on my favorite TV shows. That's the TV show Dexter. I have several issues with the series Dexter, but one of the main ones being towards the last season. So Dexter is the serial killer. And yes, my dog is named after him. My mom insisted upon that, even though I insisted upon Sirius Black. She said Dexter was easier to say. Anyway, in the last season, he talks to this lady a lot, and she knows all about his past and why he's a serial killer and blah blah blah. And she keeps on saying this phrase, you feel a lot for a psychopath. And I kept wanting to scream at the television saying, yes, because he's not a psychopath. I mean, there's obviously something completely wrong with him because he's wanting to kill all these people, but I don't think he actually is, like, technically considered a psychopath. And yet they never really address the fact that he isn't really fulfill all the qualifications of a real psychopath. It was irritating. But nothing bothered me more than the way they ended the whole show. See, Dexter fell in love with this girl who was a murderer. Basically, in the last episode, all these horrible things start happening, and it's like his world starts caving in on him. He loses one of the only people he's ever cared about, hence he can care about people. And then he also is put in this position where he thinks, what is best for my son? I don't want to be around my son. I bring death wherever I go. Writers had a few options, I think, here, although I know it was limited. And this might have been difficult to pull off, but I think they could have done what was best for his son and have him live with his original mother's family. Well, only mother's family. See, while Dexter doesn't have any living family, Harrison's mom, who is dead, has family that's living. I think they could have had it where Harrison went to live with his grandparents. Then he would have been with his brother and sister, and he would have been with family, and I think it would have been best for him. Because Dexter was going to completely remove himself from his son's life. But no, who does he leave his son with? He leaves him with a murderer. Maybe this comes from the fact that I really didn't like Hannah. But Hannah proves herself that she is not stable and stay in one place. She's obviously still being hunted down. And I think whatever comes at her, she's willing to do anything to get out of the situation so she doesn't have to go to jail. Not the person I would want to leave my kid with. I don't care if I am a serial killer, at least Dexter actually cares about his son and would do anything to keep him safe. Except for the ending where he leaves him with the crazy murder lady. I don't know, I just thought this whole ending was stupid. Spoiler alert, Dexter doesn't actually die, he just starts his own life separate from everything. Everyone thinks he's dead. So maybe there is a glimmer of hope that someday he realizes that, oh wait, maybe I'm not that bad for my son. At least not as bad as the crazy lady. Hannah's not crazy, but she's just annoying to me, okay? And then maybe, hopefully, he joins up with his son someday. I don't know, I just didn't think they ended the series the best way they could. They claimed they did what they did because they didn't want to have a happy ending for a serial killer. Which I think is kind of a bull rubbish, because, I mean, you were rooting for this guy the whole time, even though he's out there killing people. He tries to do it the right way, because he's only killing people that he thinks deserve to be killed because they've harmed others or whatever. And he really tries to stop multiple times. Maybe there's the argument that he could never stop, but I think he was getting to a point where he almost could stop. I guess it bothered me because it didn't feel like closure, it just felt like a whole bunch of crap put together. Whereas some show endings that are sad, lost, feel appropriate. At least in my head. That's just my opinion. That's all these videos really ever are usually, is just a bunch of opinions. Anyway, tell me if you have any shows that you think have a disappointing ending. Shows, movies, whatever. Also, tell me any other video ideas you have, because I run out of them. Anyway, lots of love, God bless, and peace out.